Welcome back to the Crypto channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still struggling at this major area of resistance. But while this is happening, we're seeing a major drop off in the Bitcoin dominance, at least in the short term, causing an altcoin season right now. While Ethereum just made history. That is right. Not only are we breaking out on this Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart, we've just seen the largest net inflow into the spot Ethereum ETFs in history, which I'll talk about in just a moment, alongside the price of XRP now breaking out towards all-time record highs. So are we talking about all of that and so much more later in the video? So definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. And on this weekly Bitcoin price chart, at least for now, we have a possible bearish divergence still forming, but not currently confirmed. So overall, we're still very bullish on the weekly time frame, at least for now. And on the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, we still have an active bullish crossover playing out in the 3-day Bitcoin MACD, indicating bullish momentum. And of course, on this 3-day Bitcoin price chart, we still have an active bullish breakout playing out for this bullish cup and handle pattern, with an active price target sitting at approximately $153,000 per Bitcoin. And so from where we are right now, as of recording this video, to that price target, that's still around a 30% move towards the upside with no leverage, or for example, a 10x leverage long position, that'll be around a 300% profit in that example. But as always, not financial advice. And of course, as I always say, keep in mind, we'll likely find a lot of resistance between the current price and that price target. It's unlikely we'll just go straight towards that price target without finding any resistance along the way. And so that's still the situation on the larger time frames. Overall, still looking very bullish, as we can see. But of course, when it comes to resistance to watch out for, we have this major area of resistance here in the low 120k range. So basically in between roughly 120,000 to 123,000. Once again, in the low $120,000 area, we have a lot of resistance on the price chart, as we can see. And that's mainly based on this 1618 Fibonacci extension level sitting at around 121 to 122,000. And we could see that around half a week ago, the price hit an all-time high, a record high of around 123,000 approximately, before rejecting from that level. So once again, in between roughly 120,000 to 123,000 is the area of resistance to focus on. And of course, just over the last 1 day or so, we actually retested pretty much exactly 120,000 and then started to struggle around there. So at least for now, that is still acting as resistance, which means continue to expect, at least in the short term, for the price to struggle around this area. But while this is happening, of course, we're seeing a lot more opportunities in the altcoin market, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But also, while this is happening for the price of Bitcoin, in the immediate short term, this is helping to reset the RSI. And as we can see right here, the RSI on the 4-hour Bitcoin price chart is pretty much at neutral levels right now, at roughly around 50, around the middle of the RSI indicator, which means we now technically have more room towards the upside again here in the RSI, because we're a decent way away from overbought territories compared to what we saw a few days ago. Obviously, we were extremely overbought, telling us we're running out of room towards the upside just in the immediate short term. We need some time to cool off, but now we've reset the RSI once again, meaning we have more room towards the upside again. And so, as I said in my last video, I do expect just a slight little bullish relief utilizing some of that room towards the upside. But remember, in this area right here, in between 120,000 to 123,000, we have a lot of resistance right there. And once again, just over the last 1 day, we did see a little bit of a rejection, a slight struggle at close to 120,000. And so I'll not be surprised if the price just continues price action very similar to this, where we are overall bullish, but once again, still struggling around this resistance, most likely at least for the next few days or so, just in the shorter term. But remember, if we're zooming out, looking at the bigger picture, we're still within a much larger bull market, looking very bullish on the larger timeframes. And just before talking about the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, which is revealing the next short-term price target that we need to pay attention to, first, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I'm taking a lot of my crypto trades over on BTNX, so I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, where you can claim some massive trading bonuses. For example, you can claim up to $40,000 in trading bonuses, and also up to $200 in deposit deposit bonuses. So for example, if you deposit just $1,000, you get a $200 bonus into your BitNex account. But that's only if you use the link below this video to actually make your account, start trading on that account. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, if you're preparing to take the next trading opportunity, you might as well get set up ready to go using that first link below this video to BitNex to take advantage of these major bonuses, which once again are only available using that link. And in case you're wondering, BitNex is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it for basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BitNex as an exchange, there's also 2bit as another option out there, another exchange that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to 2bit below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page where you can also claim some massive bonuses. For example, up to $50,000 in trading bonuses and a $30 sign up bonus and a 20% deposit rebate up to a max of 200 USDT. So for example, if you deposit just $1,000, you get a $200 bonus into your 2bit accounts. But once again, that's only available if you use the link below this video to actually make your 2bit account. And in case you're wondering, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. And I'll just quickly mention here that 2bit has just brought out some new trading features for those that are trading on 2bit. For example, they've got the new break-even price feature so that traders can easily know their profit point or break-even point essentially for a trade. Very useful if you're trading on 2bit. And also they've just brought out the best bid offer feature, which basically makes it much more easier and optimized executions for actually placing trades over on 2bit. So once again, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check out the links below this video to those exchanges to claim these major bonuses. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, and we can see that right now a lot of liquidity is building just above the price at around 120,000 and just above 120,000. It's really in between 120,000 to 120.3k, give or take. We have a lot of liquidity, at least in the short term, starting to build there. And on top of that, we also have a small amount of liquidity building at around 115.6k. So keep that in mind here in the short term. But once again, the main level to focus on is at around 120,000 and just above 120,000 as the next major price target in the immediate short term for the price of Bitcoin, which will most likely be hit within the next few days. As always, no guarantees. It's not a 100% guarantee, but in case you're new to all of this, usually, almost always, the price of Bitcoin tends to move towards where there's a lot of liquidity, at least in the short term, if the price is relatively close to that level of liquidity. And so overall, this is pointing towards a little bit more of a bullish relief in the shorter term, potentially back up towards this area of resistance, once again, in between around 120,000 to 123,000. Maybe this time around we cross above 120,000 to take out this liquidity, but then perhaps still struggle a little bit in that low 120k area. And so overall, those are my expectations in the shorter term and the longer term for the price of Bitcoin. Those are my exact predictions. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance price chart on the 3-day time frame, obviously right now we're continuing a major pullback, continuing to perfectly play out the bearish divergence on the 3-day Bitcoin dominance chart, which I've been talking about every day for the last 1 to 2 weeks now. Since right around here, I've been saying it's extremely likely we'll see a bit more of a pullback in the Bitcoin dominance coming next, which can cause a bit of an altcoin season in the short term, meaning a lot of the altcoins, not every altcoin, but a lot of the major altcoins will likely be outperforming whatever Bitcoin is doing. And obviously, ever since I've been saying that every day for weeks now on the channel, for at least 1 to 2 weeks now, of course, that's been perfectly playing out once again as predicted. And this could likely continue to play out, considering at least for now, we're losing a lot of that bullish momentum in the Bitcoin dominance, basically pointing towards a further pullback as a likely scenario in the Bitcoin dominance, which is not necessarily bad for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, for example, can trade sideways or even play out bullish price action while the Bitcoin dominance is bearish. What this means is that the altcoins are simply just doing better than whatever Bitcoin is doing. And so obviously, while the Bitcoin dominance remains bearish like this is showing a lot of opportunity right now in the altcoin market, as we are currently within at least a short-term altcoin season, which could possibly lead into a much larger altcoin season if this continues here. And with that being said, just before taking a look at the Ethereum price charts today, we need to take a look at some Ethereum news today, because just on Wednesday, we actually broke the all-time record for the largest net inflow into the spot Ethereum ETFs. And so we can see here that on average, the spot Ethereum ETFs have an inflow of around 26 million US dollars. So relatively small, basically underneath 100 million is sort of a normal day for the spot Ethereum ETFs. But so far this week, from Monday through to Wednesday, we've seen some quite large net inflows. For example, Monday was 250 159 million, Tuesday 192 million, and then on Wednesday once again broke the all-time record with a net inflow of 726 million US dollars coming into the spot Ethereum ETFs just on Wednesday alone. And with that massive net inflow on Wednesday, of course the largest inflow out of any individual spot Ethereum ETF was the BlackRock spot Ethereum ETF, which also broke its record of almost $500 million US dollars, almost $500 million flowing into just the BlackRock spot Ethereum ETF just on Wednesday alone. And so what this actually means, in case you're new to all of this, is essentially this is investors' money coming into the Ethereum ETFs, and then the ETF providers like BlackRock, Fidelity, etc. are receiving this money, and then they go out to actually buy Ethereum on behalf of the investors to actually back the ETFs. And so in other words, just on Wednesday, investors overall gave BlackRock around $500 million, $500 million to go out and buy Ethereum. And then once again, just on Wednesday, BlackRock bought around $500 million worth of Ethereum to back the ETF for this inflow right here. And so obviously this is helping to pump the price of Ethereum in the shorter term. We're seeing a lot of demand, a lot of money flowing into Ethereum, pumping the price right now as we speak. And we can see that currently the price of Ethereum is continuing to break out. Not only are we continuing the major breakout above this previous area of resistance in between 2.7k to 2.8k, not only are we breaking out above that short-term resistance at roughly 3,000, but we're also now starting to break out and actually already seeing one daily candle close confirm above this Fibonacci level of resistance at around 3250. So once again, in between around 3.2k to 3.3k was a potential point of resistance to watch out for. But as of recording this video, we're now already confirming the breakout above this area, targeting these higher price levels. And the higher price levels I'm talking about, first of all, we could find a bit of short-term resistance at around 3.5k and also at around 3.7k. But then above that, I'll be targeting these highs at around 4,000 to 4.1k as a likely target coming soon. And clearly the trend, momentum, and price structure is still looking very bullish for Ethereum, as I've been saying for a while now on the channel, especially ever since we broke out above around 2.7k to 2.8k. That was a strong bullish indication from that point onwards. And of course, if we're taking a look at the 6-hour time frame, we have a possible short-term bearish divergence to watch out for with higher highs in the price and lower highs in the RSI. But at least for now, this is just possibly forming and not currently confirmed. It is not in play. And if we're taking a look at the ETH BTC chart, this is Ethereum versus Bitcoin on the daily time frame. We can see that obviously over the last few days, we've continued a significant breakout on the Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart, which is what I've been talking about every day for the last half a week now. Because obviously, if you've been watching my videos over the last half a week to almost 1 week now, you'll know that before we saw this breakout, I've been saying if Ethereum simply breaks out above this area of resistance with a daily candle close above this area on the ETH BTC chart, which is what we saw right here just a couple of days ago, from that signal onwards, expect Ethereum to massively outperform Bitcoin, because this is a significant change in price structure on the ETH BTC chart, breaking out above a very significant area of resistance. And obviously, like I said in my last 1 to 2 videos here on the channel, we've just now confirmed that breakout, which is now a significant change in price structure. So from that point onwards, I've been saying expect a lot more bullish price action on this chart, which, in case you're new to all of this, what this actually means is that Ethereum is massively outperforming Bitcoin. So whatever Bitcoin is doing in the shorter term, bouncing around sideways, even if Bitcoin is playing out bullish price action, whatever Bitcoin is doing, Ethereum is doing even better than whatever Bitcoin is doing. And so how you can actually use this information to actually trade on this chart right here on the ETH BTC chart, as always, not financial advice, but let's just say if you sold some Bitcoin into Ethereum at this breakout right here, that would essentially be the same as longing or buying this price chart right here. Because for example, if you sold, let's just say 1 Bitcoin and bought the equivalent amount of Ethereum at this daily candle close right here above this resistance to where we are right now, that's around an 8 to 9% move towards the upside, or to this local high for easy numbers, that's around a 10% move towards the upside. So for example, if you bought here, or if you actually sold the Bitcoin and then bought Ethereum here, and then if you sold the Ethereum back into Bitcoin here, that 10% move towards the upside, you would have turned 1 Bitcoin into 1.1 Bitcoin. And so instead of trading against the US dollar, trying to gain more dollars, essentially you're trading this chart to either gain more Ethereum or more Bitcoin. That's essentially what this chart means. And another thing that this chart can tell us is if it's better to long Ethereum versus longing Bitcoin, etc. And also, like I explained recently here on the channel over the last 1 to 2 days, this chart now tells us that it makes more sense to long Ethereum rather than just longing Bitcoin. So for example, if for whatever reason you wanted to long Bitcoin, essentially, why would you not long Ethereum instead rather than just longing Bitcoin if Ethereum is doing whatever Bitcoin is doing, but better, outperforming Bitcoin? But as always, that is not financial advice. I'm just simply pointing out what this chart actually means, what it's telling us. And once again, it's perfectly playing out exactly as I've been predicting. And this could likely play out moving forward. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the daily time frame, Solana just over the last 1 day has now officially confirmed a daily candle close, a confirmed breakout above this major level of resistance in the short term, which was sitting at around 167. And so I'll now expect support at that level. If for whatever reason we see a slight little pullback, expect support at roughly around 167, give or take. And as for resistance, I'd now expect resistance in between around 180 to 185 and more resistance in between around 191 to 199. And the short-term trend and momentum is still pointing in the bullish direction alongside a lot of the crypto market. And obviously with the Bitcoin dominance pulling back, this is going to help not just Ethereum versus Bitcoin, but it's going to help Solana and a lot of the major altcoins as well play out more bullish price action. And if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at the 8-hour Solana price chart, right now the price is continuing to play out the bullish cup and handle pattern, which I've been talking about for a while now on the channel. And obviously we've already seen 2 perfect retests, flipping this previous level of resistance into new support. And that level, in case you're wondering, was sitting at around 158. So expect a lot of support at 158 if the price were to actually get to those levels. But now that we're breaking out above around 167 to 168, expect support around there based on previous resistance becoming new support. And in case you're new to the channel, the technical price target for this cup and handle pattern is still sitting at around $194 approximately. So from the current price as of recording this video to that price target, that's still more than a 10% move towards the upside with no leverage. So there's still opportunity here. And once again, now that we're breaking out above 167, and that's already now been confirmed with a daily candle close, there's potentially more opportunity in the immediate short term. But overall, Ethereum is probably the biggest opportunity, at least as of recent, as of right now. Obviously, if you're trading crypto, not financial advice. And if we're zooming further into the short term, we have to keep in mind that on the 2-hour Solana price chart, we do have a possible bearish divergence, which has actually technically just confirmed with 2 confirmation signals here, as we can see, because we've now confirmed higher highs in the price in the candle closes. And we've also now just confirmed the lower high in place in the 2-hour Solana RSI. And so this is actually a bit of a short-term signal telling us that even though we're playing out the bullish cup and handle pattern, we may end up seeing a slight little struggle in the shorter term. So keep that in mind. If the bearish divergence plays out as a typical bearish divergence, the most common outcomes from a bearish divergence is either a bit of choppy sideways price action or maybe even a slight little pullback. And considering this is only on the 2-hour time frame, it would likely only play out for around a day, give or take. So not very long. It's only just in the short term. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the daily time frame, obviously over the last 1 day, the price of XRP has just now confirmed a daily candle close above $3. And I've been saying over and over again here on the channel, check any one of my videos over the last half a week to almost 1 week now, I've been saying once we simply confirm a daily candle close above $3, expect a continued major bullish move closer towards the all-time record high at closer towards around $3.40, but really in between $3.30 to $3.40, start to expect resistance around there based on previous resistance at that previous all-time high. And obviously, ever since we just confirmed that daily candle close at around $3.04, just above $3, from that point onwards, obviously we've continued a major breakout towards the all-time highs. Right now we've gotten as high as roughly $3.30, which is exactly where I've been saying starting to expect some resistance around there, start to expect resistance around $3.30 to $3.40. And so exactly as I've already been saying for a while now on this channel, expect the price to struggle in between around $3.30 to $3.40, starting at that $3.30 level. Expect maybe a bit of a short-term rejection, or once again again struggle around that area. But once we break out above $3.40, it's extremely likely that we'll see a significant bullish move beyond the all-time high. Usually when XRP breaks out above a key level, it explodes towards the upside, and that's exactly what we've seen recently, obviously, especially when we broke out above this previous golden pocket here, which was previous significant resistance. As soon as we saw that breakout, the price just exploded towards the upside. So definitely keep an eye on these levels on the price chart, the levels of resistance, because once we just break out above one of these levels of resistance here, once again, that is a signal to long XRP or to buy XRP, as we've seen multiple times already during this rally. But remember, we've already just now played out the explosive move from $3 to $3.30 and struggling at roughly $3.30, which means currently it'll not necessarily be the wisest decision to open a new long position at the current prices as of recording this video. Obviously, if you've been watching my channel over the last, even just over the last couple of days, not even for weeks, but just over the last couple of days, you would have longed this move from around $3 to $3.30. But then the next opportunity for another long position, another explosive move towards the upside, would be now if we confirm a breakout, ideally with a daily candle close above $3.40. From that point onwards, would likely see the next explosive move. But currently, we're just underneath major resistance, which means we do have a bit of short-term risk. And if the price were to play out a little bit of a rejection here, expect a lot of support at roughly around $3, really in between $2.90 to $3, would likely find a lot of support around there. And clearly the larger trend and momentum is still very much pointing in the bullish direction. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the 12-hour time frame, it's a similar situation for Chainlink, because we've just now confirmed a breakout above this Fibonacci level of resistance, which was sitting at around 1640 to 1650, and we're continuing the bullish move towards this previous local high, which was sitting at roughly around almost $18, but in between around $17.50 to $18, I'll start to expect a lot of resistance, a lot of struggle around there. And as for short-term support, I would expect a lot of support based on this previous resistance flipping into new support, once again at roughly 1640 to 1650. And if we were to break back below that level, we have major support in this area in between 1530 to 1550. And obviously, as I've already been saying for a long time now on the channel, the price structure, the trend, the momentum is still very much bullish. We're still pointing in the bullish direction. So even if we see a little bit of a short-term rejection from a certain point of resistance along the way, don't be scared. Don't let that just panic sell you out of the market. Obviously, that's one of the biggest mistakes the beginners make in crypto. As soon as we see a little bit of a pullback from a point of resistance, people just panic sell thinking the pump is over. But obviously, if you did that here or here, you would have lost out on the rest of this bullish trend, at least so far. And so I'm pointing out the points on the price chart where we could likely struggle at or possibly reject from, but overall the trend, at least for now, is remaining bullish. And if we're zooming further into the short term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, we do have a possible bearish divergence forming. Technically, we have some small confirmation signals here, but we don't really have any strong confirmation signal because the RSI is relatively flat since this lower high right here. We don't really have a strong lower high in place in the 2-hour Chainlink RSI. And so this is something to pay attention to, considering we have higher highs in the price and lower highs in the RSI. But ideally, I'd like to see a little bit more confirmation here to be more confident in the bearish divergence actually playing out. And if it actually confirms here with a further rejection like this in the RSI in the coming hours, then in that situation, we'll likely just see a little bit of a cool off, maybe for around a day or two, just in the immediate short term, most likely in the form of just some choppy sideways price action or a slight little pullback to reset things and get ready for that next bullish move, considering the larger trend and momentum is still bullish. And remember, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade crypto no matter what the price is doing, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit during bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit during choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.